Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the simple and AI-powered rewards and recognition platform for employee engagement.
Organizations around the world are constantly innovating to meet the evolving performance standards. They invest tons of money in acquiring resources and recruiting the best talents, but they often miss out on one key point. That pivotal point is teamwork and taking measures to improve it by creating team-building activities. In today's globalized world, working as a team is the only way to attain success amidst the crowd. Almost everyone is now in a rat race to grab the top spot, but achieving this is next to impossible with individual efforts. Hello listeners, welcome to Vantage Influencers Podcast. I am your host, Gautam. Just like how you and I work together as a team in making this podcast channel a success, similarly, team building events and activities is the key to excellent teamwork and success. So today's topic of discussion is about the best team building events and how they help enhance employee engagement. To shed light on this topic, we have a very special guest, and he is Mr. Matthew Rolnick. Matthew Rolnick is the VP of Strategy and Innovation at Yaymaker. Matthew works closely with HR leaders and founders on team building events and employee engagement. He has 3 courses on Udemy that has reached over 100,000 students. He has been published numerous times in Forbes and is the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Find Your Yay. He is thought leader when it comes to corporate culture, branding, employee engagement, and social selling. He considers himself an intrapreneur and is passionate working with Yaymaker and helping employees feel more connected through team-building experiences, as well as working closely with DEI, mental health, and leadership speakers. Hello, Matthew. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Gautam. Great to be here. Thank you so much.
We are truly delighted to have you today, and thank you so much for joining us today. And I think our listeners will have a great time listening to you, considering the amount of experience that you have had. And, team building activities is a topic that's quite close to my heart as well, because I thoroughly work mostly with company culture, and I think that's a big part of team building, and is a big part of making up the company culture. But, before we could go ahead and before we could move forward with the topic of discussion today, would you like to brief us about yourself? Something that I might have missed mentioning about you.
Well, sure. I appreciate it. I'm excited to talk to you. My company, Yaymaker, we're based out of Boston. That's where our corporate office is. I live in the Chicagoland area in a suburb called Downers Grove. I have with my wife for over 15 years and my 14-year-old daughter. Yaymaker, we started as the original paint night, but we offer a lot of team building experiences, whether it be candle making or chocolate tasting or murder mysteries or trivia. Like yourself, I'm very passionate talking about team building experiences in corporate culture.
Wow, thank you, Matthew, so much. And when you say that you are truly passionate about team building and this is what you do on a day-to-day basis, so what is team building actually? If you could describe it in your own words.
Well, I think by definition, it's more 2 or more people, any group kind of working together or doing teamwork with a collaborative effort to kind of reach a common goal. I look at team building more about just connecting people, helping, I'd say, individuals focus less about themselves and more about the team. So that's, I guess, how I would kind of define team building.
So I think it all comes down to collaboration and respecting each other's boundaries, right? When it comes to team building. Correct. Sure. And I think that's how we would like to come to agreement as well, that, every leader or a company would expect the same when it comes to team building. And whenever we talk about team building, we also talk about employee engagement. And currently, when there's remote work has almost become the norm now. So, every leader is right now looking out for ways as to how they can enhance employee engagement at their workplaces. So, how team building events or activities positively impact employee engagement as per you?
I like that question. So I think it does a lot. I think team building, it helps employees communicate more with each other. I think it builds more trust. I think you can learn more about different personalities. I really think it just is more of an effective way to collaborate. I think great team building, again, makes a team feel closer, and hopefully they have fun along the way.
All right. But, when we talk about employee engagement, we mostly talk about rewards and recognition. And, we talk about how DEI plays an important role in it. But we hardly give importance to team building as to, how a small team lunch can also, engage employees, how a small game can engage employees at workplace. But, considering that, when you have remote work in place, so how do you think that it helps? Like, some maybe virtual events can help, enhance the employee engagement at work.
Well, you asked about how can a virtual event help with employee engagement at work.
Yes.
We see a lot of companies want people back in the office, but then we see a lot of remote workplaces all around the country or all around the world. And we do find even a virtual game can really, again, get people to problem solve better, connect better, kind of put their guards down to work closer. So, I use examples of what we do with trivia, or we have our own game show called Winning Opinions, or even a murder mystery. You get people to kind of, again, use their brains a little differently, collaborate a little differently, and the end result, it helps them all feel a little more connected. So I think those employees all feel a little more engaged, and I think, again, that all helps the cause of building that team building.
Well, thank you, Matthew, for the response. And again, I'll come down to remote working, or I'll come down to even working at office also. Considering the workplace scenario has gone through a massive shift in the past 2 years. So, if you would like to tell our listeners that what, according to you, are the best team building events that our leaders must implement in 2022 for enhanced employee engagement at work.
Well, all right. Well, you say what must, and some of my favorite activities that I think leaders should look at. I mean, we are best known, again, for our paint nights, and I do think it's fascinating when you do a creative experience all together. Mm-hmm. Just, again, it not only is something people can participate, but it also is kind of, they have their own painting or memento that they have afterwards. That's also a constant reminder. But again, we find the whole idea of participation, engagement, creativity. By that experience, we get rave reviews from that. But again, we events like Code Crackers, that's when teams problem solve together, that really, again, puts people to really want to collaborate even more with each other. So that's another type of experience that I would say, really, when you can get teams to work closely together and it's not work related, I think that, again, builds that trust and communication. So those are just a couple examples, but I think anytime it's undistracted, you encourage everybody, hey, put work off the table. Let's all focus on this. Do some type of a game activity together. That's what I'd say.
I think that was great, Matthew, because, usually what leaders do is just use some boring methods to engage people and as team building events. But I think leaders must now start becoming a little bit more creative and, get everybody involved in it. Of course, not forcefully, but active participation is required. But along with that, I think a bit of creativity and innovation can do the trick here. Am I right here?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think leaders need to think a little outside the box with activities. You talk about kind of innovation and creativity. Also, what's interesting is we also find food, besides experiences, when you tie it in with food, can help bring people together as well, no matter what culture, what interest. So that's something that we've added to experiences as well, which is tends to enhance an experience.
Sure. And also, moving ahead, I see that you're also involved in DEI and mental health at workplace. So, do you think that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a part of team building? And if yes, how would you justify it?
Wow, I definitely do. I read in a Harvard Business Review article, it talked about diverse companies and teams are more productive, more innovative, focus more on facts. They're better at problem solving. So I do think, obviously, the diversity is really important. And then inclusion, for particular, I think everybody wants to feel included. And I think So I do think when companies invest in diversity, equity, inclusion, it's another way for people to understand each other better, connect with each other better. And I do think it's an important aspect. And I see more and more businesses prioritizing that. And with Yaymaker, we have diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as you mentioned mental health speakers that can do a speaking session. We call it motivational minutes or a workshop. And we do find that employees typically feel more engaged and feel more, up to speed and better understanding with things.
True. I completely agree with you on that because, we have been working towards bettering or, nurturing a good company culture. But where we lack is when we think that we are a bit of privileged and maybe, okay, he's somewhat different, she's somewhat different, they are different, and maybe we don't have to mingle with them or, we do not have to really go and talk to them. They can come to us. I think we need to break those biases and prejudices at work. And I think that also becomes the team building activity when we, invite speakers to speak on it, when we do a sensitization program, when we do a diversity training program. So I think that also helps a lot.
Absolutely. And as I shared, for us, we have speakers, whether it's Black History Month, Women's History Month, Pride Month. Yeah. So we really try to, again, have a diverse group of speakers that we work with as well and try to help companies and teams with that.
Sure. And thank you so much, Matthew. So we are now slowly approaching towards the end of this conversation. And not that I want to stop you here or I don't want to listen to you. I think our listeners are also really wanting to, listen to you more and more. But because time might not permit us. So, at the end, how would you like to conclude your thoughts on team building events, enhancing employee engagement?
Well, the biggest thing I would say is just for leaders to prioritize it. It's so easy to be so busy day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter on everything business you're trying to get done. But it is very important to work hard and play hard. So I think if I give any advice for inclusions is just prioritize its schedule, make sure you're doing some type of consistent team building event. Again, it's just going to help with happier, more engaged employees. It will help with retention. So all that I would encourage them is whether it's Yaymaker or anyone else, just making sure that you prioritize it and schedule it.
Sure, I think we are doing the same thing in Vantage Circle as well, just like Yaymaker, because we are a rewards and recognition platform. We are an employee engagement platform. And our sole job is to engage employees, whoever is tied with us, and our own employees as well. And I think, the activities, I think active participation from leaders can really, inspire the employees as well to take part in all the activities that is happening. I think that motivation, that sense of motivation can just push you forward from that normal boredom or that, monotony, to break the monotony. And I had an amazing time talking with you, Matthew. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And in the end, if you could just let our listeners know that how can they reach out to you if they have any queries or doubts?
Well, I would say a couple things. My email is my first initial last name at Yaymaker. So if anybody wants to email me at mrolnick@yaymaker.com. And then I'm also really active on LinkedIn. So Matthew Rolnick, you can find me on LinkedIn. You go Matthew Rolnick Yaymaker, I'm sure you'll find me. And just, send me an invite, send me a quick note that you heard me on here, and happy to connect.
Thank you. That was great, Matthew. And thank you so much for lending your time, especially on a Monday morning. And I hope you have a great week ahead.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Sure. And listeners, you just heard Matthew Rolnick speak about team building activities and how it enhances employee engagement. And if you want to listen to more such conversations in the future, please stay tuned to Vantage Influencers podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Vantage HR Influencers podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.